Hi guys, I want to go through a couple of topics with you right now. And the first topic we're going to look at is order of operations. So you guys should pull up that um, order of operations supplement packet, pull that up, and then have that ready for you guys to write on as I'm just kind of quickly going through it. And this one I'm going to go through pretty quickly because this is a topic that you should already feel comfortable with coming into this class, but it's such a foundational topic that I want to make sure that we at least talk about it a little bit. And then those of you that might need some additional help on it, make sure you just come see me during office hours or you ask me about it during class so you can get your questions addressed. All right, let me share my screen. Having some issues connecting with AirPlay. 1 second. Okay. All right. So you guys should be looking at your notes packet as well right now. And what you're going to notice that that would be different about this packet compared to your more complete packet that you would have printed out is that the blanks are already filled in for you. So like this exponents blanks filled in for you. These examples right here are filled in for you. You're going to see that here too. For the next video, that's information you're going to be filling in with me as we go through that together. So this one, it's just kind of the quick and dirty order of operations overview. So if you recall, order of operations, typically you probably kind of grew up thinking about PEMDAS. I know that's how I was taught. And P would be the parentheses. E was for the exponents, multiplication, and then the division, addition, subtraction. Something I want to point out is that multiplication division, you are always going to do that from left to right in the problem or in the expression. And then same thing with addition and subtraction. So you're going to go from left to right. So what that means is if division comes first from left to right, you're going to do division first before the multiplication. And I've found that some students maybe have been taught that wrong or you just maybe misunderstood it. So you want to make sure you're doing that from left to right. The P should actually stand for grouping symbols. So it's not just parentheses, but it could be other things like brackets. It could be braces. That one looked kind of messy. It could be a fraction bar. So maybe we've got a big numerator with lots of operations, and then it's separated by a fraction bar. So you would do everything in the numerator, you would do everything in the denominator, and then reduce at the end. So fraction bars can be that too. One example that I do want to talk about because it's highly, highly misunderstood is this example right here. When you were comparing this example versus this one. So if you notice on this first example on the left, the -2 is in parentheses. So that's saying that you are taking that entire quantity of -2 and you're raising it to the 4th power. So you're taking -2 times -2 times -2 times -2. So multiplying it out 4 times. Whereas the second one is saying take negative and then times 2 raised to the 4th. And so you could almost rewrite this one on the right as like -1 times 2 to the 4th. And so what that's telling you is that you have now what we have on this side is that you've got -1 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So on this far right one, you would end up getting -16 for this one. And on the left part, you would end up getting a +16 because you're taking a negative times another negative and ultimately an even number of times, which gives you a positive. So this is one that gets messed up quite a bit. So definitely make sure that you're understanding those problems. On the examples right here, it's just asking you of these, which one's the base and which is the exponent. So you may not have heard those terms in a while, but they're right here too, if you want to look at those terms. So the base is the number that's having the power raised to it. So it's just the bottom number. Like I think about in cheerleading, you have a base and you have like the flyer up top. Well, the base is the one that's on the bottom, and then the exponent's the little number up top. So here, there are going to be some additional examples in this packet. I'm not going to go through those examples with you for this one. I'll go through them on the next one. But this is a packet that I want you to try on your own with some of the examples. So here you just put it in your calculator and you're going to raise 9 to the 4th. So like on my very simple calculator, I've got a button and it says 9, and then the button says y to the x, and then it says 4, and then you just put that in your calculator and you evaluate it to see what it is. Then on number 2 here, you want to be careful with the negatives, right? So think about how that looked up here, like looking at the difference of what you saw here versus right here. And I want you to apply that concept for number 2 and number 3 and go try those out. And then if you don't know, come ask me. So come ask me those questions. So what else did I want to mention? So again, this is again just saying what are the orders of operation. And again, reminding you whichever comes first from left to right for multiplication division. And same thing with addition subtraction, whichever comes first from left to right. Okay, so then looking at, I'm gonna look at number 2 just real quickly with you. Number 2, if we are looking at our order of operations, I would say, well, here's a grouping symbol with this absolute value. So I'm gonna write it a little bit bigger so I can kind of write some pieces in there. And then we've got -7 minus the 5th root of 32. And so just looking at the numerator, we want to take that absolute value first, which the absolute value of -2, it just makes it positive because the absolute value actually asks the question, what is the distance between -2 and 0? And the answer to that is 2. So essentially what we're doing on that one is that we're just taking 2 then, we're cubing it, we're adding 1. And I'm going to do one step in the denominators. I'm going to take the 5th root of 32. And again, in my calculator, I've got a little button that allows me to tell it what this number, that's called the index. And so essentially saying, well, what is the 5th root of 32? And so I would look for that button on your calculator because you're going to need to know how to do this type of problem later. So you want to find the button on your calculator that allows you to take the 5th root of 32. And what that's asking you is what number raised to the 5th power is going to equal 32. So that's what it's asking. What number raised to the 5th power equals 32? And that's what it's asking you. Well, then that number ends up being 2. And so I'm hoping you found that in your calculator, and then you could write it in. And if you haven't found it, you need to ask me. We need to go look at it on your calculator and find where that is. Okay, so then we've got what's left in the numerator. We have 2 to the 3rd, which is going to be 8 plus 1. And then in the the denominator, we've got -9. And then we end up getting 9 over -9, which reduces to -1. And so that it ends up being your answer. On this number 1, I want you to try that one on your own. So just make sure you're following your order of operations for that one. And so that might be something you just write, like just make sure you're following. And again, remember multiplication division from left to right. So that means like even in the numerator, multiplication division from left to right, which one comes first? This division. So you want to do the division first, and then you're going to do the multiplication. So you would do like 10 plus what's 30 divided by 3? It's going to give you 10. So you're going to have 10 plus 10 times 2. And then you need to do that multiplication next. So you'd have 10 times 2, which is 20. And then you would have 10 plus 20, which is going to give you 30. So don't just write down the 30. You need to show your steps and show those all right here. I'm kind of a stickler with you showing your steps, so make sure you do that. So here just gives you some additional examples. So you definitely need to try these and see what you get. And then we can check your answers. You can send me some questions. You can text me or email me, or you can ask again in office hours or in class the next day. And then the rest of these are just just having you try out some word problems and using order of operations. And I think that was all that I wanted to tell you. And so again, once you get down here to number 2, and then there should be, yep, some pieces over here with number 3. I want you filling out those problems. And so you're gonna answer those problems as well. If you have questions on the order of operations or on this worksheet, again, just make sure that you're contacting me so that we can get those questions addressed. Thanks very much. And that is all for this one.